with news from across the Federation, spanning the region and covering the globe. This is the Kyssfm SKN News Now Morning Edition, your one true source for news. And now your presenter.
Good morning. Today is 1st February 2018. I'm Ebony Brandon. These are this morning's top stories. The SKNLP says it will seek legal action if necessary to set irregularities at the Electoral Office straight. Internationally, Poland has passed a controversial Holocaust law, and in sport, a court has overturned life bans given to dozens of Russian athletes. We also have the weather forecast and Carib update. Now for a look at the national developments in detail. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party chairperson, Honourable Marcella Liebert, says while the Electoral Office may refuse to respond to the party's concerns about irregularities in its work and operation, they must be made to answer as it undermines the country's fundamental democratic principles. Echoing concerns by the party leader, Right Honourable Dr. Denzel Douglas, and also recently raised concerns by the Nevis Reformation Party over the alleged incompetence and impropriety of persons connected with the Electoral Office, operational irregularities, and even alleged breaches of electoral laws, Liebert says someone must be made to answer to these charges. She also expressed deep concern over the overtly political and biased stance taken by key persons employed by the Electoral Commission.
We have very strong evidence of what is happening with respect to, or not happening as the case may be, with respect to these electoral matters. As the leader said, remember right after the elections, the office was closed for like 6 months or something like that. I mean, there were no lists, there were no, being publicized, people couldn't go into register, because the office was not open. And up to now, as we speak, some almost 3 years later, there's been no explanation to the public as to why the office was shut. We heard that they were carrying out some investigation in there in terms of the Electoral Office, and we're still waiting for the investigation. We said, well, are the results or whatever they were carrying out in terms of the results of this investigation into Electoral Office. But as we go along, for example, we have a registration officer in constituency number 1 who constantly takes to Facebook to say all sorts of negative things about the leader of the opposition and make all sorts of other negative comments about the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. And he is the registration officer for polling division number 1. This is just totally unacceptable. Yes, he has his politics like everybody else, but if you occupy a certain position, you should behave a certain way, which is the same thing I'm saying about the speaker. And so you can't have registration officers out there criticizing and saying all sorts of negative things about political parties. When this government changed, the first set of objections they had probably sometime last year, for example, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party was not invited at all to these objections. We had to find out about them and impose ourselves on them to know exactly what is happening. So clearly they have an agenda which they're carrying out.
Ms. Liebert has also again raised the fact that the Electoral Office, among other things, has failed in one of its principal duties, publishing the voters' lists on time based on the schedule prescribed by law.
Lists are supposed to come out on the 15th of every month and on the last day of every month. On the 15th, you have the monthly list, and on the last day of the month, you have the monthly revised list for the month before. So, for example, in January, the monthly list for December would come out on the 15th of January, and the monthly revised list for December would come out at the end of January. About the 23rd of January, that's this week or last week, is when the monthly list for December is being posted. And this happens frequently, that they're posted late, and in terms of the revised list, in many instances, not posted at all. And so you have all these anomalies that are happening. And then when you look, people's names just disappearing from the list. You don't know how the name came off the list. And then when you go, as I said to them, they're saying, oh, go and re-register, which is clearly part of the strategy of what is happening inside here.
Libert indicated that the party will take legal action against the electoral office if necessary to force them to provide answers and regularize their operations in the interest of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Meanwhile, police are again looking for the public's cooperation in locating a wanted man. 45-year-old Marlon Heath of Trafalgar Village is being sought out to answer the charge of having caused grievous bodily harm in an incident on 16th November 2017. Marlon Heath is 5 feet 8 inches tall, of dark complexion, has dark brown eyes and dreadlocks. Police say it is possible that Heath may have cut his hair. Anyone knowing of Marlon Heath's whereabouts are being urged to contact the Bastille Police Station on 465-2241, the nearest police station, or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477. And in international developments this morning, Israel says it is adamantly opposed to a Polish bill that would make it illegal to suggest that Poland was complicit in the Nazi Holocaust. Poland's upper house of parliament backed the draft legislation despite objections from Israel and the United States. Jonah Hull reports.
The Polish Senate voted overwhelmingly to approve new Holocaust legislation that makes it a crime to refer to wartime Nazi extermination camps as being Polish, or to accuse Poland of complicity in the atrocities of the Third Reich. Israel has condemned it, the Foreign Ministry saying on Twitter. Israel views with utmost gravity any attempt to challenge historical truth. No law will change the facts. But Poland's ruling party denies the charge, pointing out that academic research and artistic expression are exempt.
Research of the past is not threatened in any way. Talking about the past and analysing it, even the darkest, most shameful part of the Polish past, is not threatened in any way.
Opposition MPs warned the bill was an attack on free speech.
There cannot be any law that will suppress the discussion. This bill is worded in such a way that discussion can be suppressed, here in Poland, but also abroad, and that is the worst fear.
Poland was occupied by Nazi Germany in World War II. It lost 6 million of its citizens, including 3 million Jews who died in camps like Auschwitz and Birkenau. In occupied Poland, helping Jews, even offering them a glass of water, was punishable by death. The Senate vote in Poland happened a day after Germany and other nations joined in annual remembrance of the Holocaust.
With a minute of silence.
While there is no suggestion that Poland willfully colluded with the Nazis, Israel's Holocaust memorial Yad Vashem says the Polish bill is liable to blur the historical truths regarding the assistance the Germans received from the Polish population. The bill that aims to defend Poland's wartime image must now be approved by the President, who has previously indicated his support.
And in sport this morning, a decision to overturn the Olympic life bans of 28 Russian athletes may have a serious impact on the future fight against doping, says the International Olympic Committee. The Court of Arbitration for Sport, or CAS, overturned the IOC suspensions for doping at the 2014 Winter Olympics, partially upholding 11 other appeals. CAS said that in 28 cases, evidence was insufficient to prove doping. The IOC said it would consider its own appeal to the Swiss Federal Tribunal. CAS said that for the 11 athletes whose appeals had been partially upheld, evidence was sufficient to establish an anti-doping rule violation had taken place. It said they would be declared ineligible for this month's games instead of a life ban from all Olympic games. The IOC said that the CAS ruling does not mean that the athletes from the group of 28 will be invited to this month's games in Pyeongchang. It expressed its satisfaction on one hand and disappointment on the other, as Thursday's decision made 8 days before the 28 Winter Olympics begins in South Korea. And now we have a look at this morning's weather forecast. Across St. Kitts and Nevis today, we can expect partly sunny conditions with a 20% or slight chance of showers. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a 20% or slight chance of showers. Seas are moderate with significant wave heights of 1.2 to 1.8 meters or 4 to 6 feet, occasionally reaching 2.4 meters or 8 feet. Beachgoers should exercise caution against high surfs and ripped currents taking place mainly near beaches on the eastern and northern sides of the island. Sea level pressure is 1,017.0 millibars or 30.03 inches. The sun will rise tomorrow at 6:42 a.m. and set today at 6:07 p.m. Across the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, a low-level convergence will result in cloudy periods and a high chance of showers across the southern Windward Islands and Trinidad and Tobago. Elsewhere, sinking air resulting from surface to low-level divergence will inhibit shower activity, hence skies will be partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. And that wraps up this morning's news presentation. Before we go, as always, a recap of our top stories. Nationally, the SKNLP says it will seek legal action if necessary to set irregularities at the electoral office straight. Internationally, Poland has passed a controversial Holocaust law. And in sport, a court has overturned life bans given to dozens of Russian athletes. I've been your presenter, Ebony Brandon. Thank you for tuning in. Carib Update is next.